Caleb Turner sat alone in the dimly lit restaurant, watching couples laugh over wine while his phone stayed silent. 1 hour. That's how long he'd waited for a woman who was never coming. The single father had finally taken a chance on love again after 3 years of putting his daughter first, of playing it safe, of staying invisible. And this was what he got. An empty chair, pitying glances from the waiter, and the familiar sting of rejection. But then a stranger slid into that empty seat, looked him dead in the eye, and said 5 words that would crack his world wide open. "She's not worth your time." If you want to see how one abandoned dinner date became the beginning of something neither of them saw coming, stick around until the end. And hey, drop a like and comment what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The reservation had been for 7:30. Caleb checked his phone again. 8:42. The screen showed no new messages, no apologetic texts, no last-minute explanations. Just his daughter Macy's school photo as his wallpaper, her gap-toothed smile reminding him exactly why he shouldn't be here in the first place. He set the phone face down on the white tablecloth. Around him, Marchetti's hummed with the soft chaos of a Friday night. Couples leaned across candlelit tables. A group of women in their 20s laughed too loud near the bar. Silverware clinked against plates. Someone's anniversary was being celebrated 2 tables over with champagne and a small cake. And Caleb sat alone, nursing his second glass of water, trying to figure out the exact moment he should call it. The waiter, a kid maybe 23 with gelled hair and a practiced smile, appeared at his elbow for the 4th time. "Still waiting for your party, sir." "Yeah." Caleb forced a smile that felt like it might crack his face. "She's just running late." The waiter's eyes flickered with something Caleb recognized immediately. Pity. The same look he'd gotten from strangers when they saw him alone at the park with Macy, when he showed up to parent-teacher conferences without a partner, when he declined invitations to couples' game nights because he didn't have a second half. "Of course. Can I get you anything else while you wait?" "I'm good. Thanks." The kid nodded and retreated, probably to tell the hostess that the guy at table 12 had definitely been stood up. Caleb picked up his phone again, opened their message thread, scrolled through 3 weeks of conversations that had felt at the time like something real. Olivia. "I can't believe you actually like pineapple on pizza. That's a deal breaker, you know." Caleb. "Says the person who puts ketchup on scrambled eggs." Olivia. "That's normal." Caleb. "It's a crime against breakfast." Olivia. "Okay, we clearly need to meet in person to settle this properly." And he'd said yes. After weeks of her gentle prodding, her easy humor, her seeming understanding that he came with complications, a 7-year-old daughter, a demanding job as a software engineer, an ex-wife who'd left him holding all the pieces 3 years ago, he'd finally agreed. His sister Emma had been thrilled when he told her. "About damn time," she'd said over the phone, Macy playing in the background at her house. "You can't just work and parent forever, Caleb. You're allowed to have a life." "I have a life." "You have a routine. There's a difference." Maybe she'd been right. Maybe that's why he'd let himself hope. Let himself shower longer than usual, wear the navy button-down Emma had given him last Christmas, actually style his hair instead of just running his fingers through it. Let himself imagine, just for a moment, what it might feel like to share his world with someone again. Stupid. He should have known better, should have remembered that hoping for anything beyond the narrow boundaries of his current existence only led to sitting alone in Italian restaurants while strangers witnessed his humiliation. Caleb glanced at the door again. A couple walked in, already holding hands. The hostess greeted them with a warm smile and guided them to a booth in the corner. 9 o'clock now. He signaled for the waiter. "Check, please." "Oh, are you sure? She might still—" "I'm sure." The kid disappeared. Caleb pulled out his wallet, prepared to pay for 2 glasses of water and whatever dignity he had left. That's when she appeared. Not Olivia. Someone else entirely. She was maybe 30, with dark hair pulled back in a messy bun and eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. She wore jeans and a leather jacket over a simple white t-shirt. Nothing fancy, nothing that suggested she'd planned to be here. She moved through the restaurant like she owned it, purpose in every step, and when she reached his table, she didn't ask permission. She just sat down in the chair across from him. Caleb blinked. I'm Sienna." She set her bag on the floor, leaned back in the chair. Olivia's roommate. The words took a second to land. When they did, something cold settled in Caleb's chest. Her roommate. Yeah. Sienna's expression didn't change. No apology in her eyes, no awkward discomfort, just steady, unflinching directness. She's not coming. The restaurant noise seemed to dim. Caleb heard his own heartbeat, felt heat creeping up his neck. I figured that out already. I know. I've been watching you sit here for the last 20 minutes. That threw him. You've been, what? I was at the bar. Sienna tilted her head toward the crowd near the entrance, debating whether to come over or let you figure it out on your own. And you decided on the former because you seem like a decent guy, and Olivia's being a coward. She said it matter-of-factly, like she was commenting on the weather. Someone should at least tell you the truth. Caleb set his wallet down. The waiter approached with the check, saw Sienna, hesitated, then retreated again. The truth, Caleb repeated. She got scared, panicked, decided at the last minute she couldn't go through with it. She could have texted. She could have done a lot of things. Sienna's mouth quirked slightly, not quite a smile. Olivia's great at starting things, not as great at following through. The anger that had been simmering beneath Caleb's embarrassment started to bubble up. And you thought showing up to tell me that would somehow make this better? No. I thought showing up to tell you that would save you from spending the rest of the night wondering what you did wrong. She leaned forward, elbows on the table. Because you didn't do anything wrong. This isn't about you. Feels like it's about me. Yeah, well, feelings lie sometimes. Caleb stared at her. The strange woman who'd materialized out of nowhere to deliver bad news with the emotional inflection of someone reading a grocery list. Part of him wanted to tell her to leave, to let him wallow in peace. But another part, the part that had been slowly suffocating under the weight of routine and responsibility, was almost grateful someone was being honest. So that's it? He asked. You came here to tell me Olivia bailed and now? Sienna glanced around the restaurant. At the couples, the families, the Friday night energy that seemed to mock the empty space between them. Now I'm hungry, she said. And you already have a reservation. Caleb almost laughed. Almost. You're serious? Why not? You got dressed up, probably arranged childcare, drove here with actual hope in your chest. Her eyes met his, sharp and knowing. Seems like a waste to leave now. I don't even know you. True. But I'm here, I'm honest, and I make better conversation than an empty chair. She picked up the menu the waiter had left earlier. Plus, their carbonara is incredible. For a long moment, Caleb just looked at her. At this woman who'd walked into his disaster of an evening and somehow made it stranger and more interesting than it had been 5 minutes ago. He should leave. Should thank her for her honesty, pay for his water, and drive home to relieve Emma and spend the rest of the night pretending this hadn't happened. Instead, he heard himself say, I'm more of a bolognese guy. Sienna's smile was quick and genuine. Of course you are. Mom. The waiter reappeared, confusion clear on his face as he looked between them. Are we ordering? He asked carefully. Caleb looked at Sienna. She raised an eyebrow, waiting. Yeah, Caleb said finally. We're ordering. 20 minutes later, they had wine, bread, and a conversation that felt nothing like the ones he'd rehearsed in his head all week. So let me get this straight, Sienna said, tearing off a piece of bread. You're a single dad, you work in tech, and you haven't been on a date in 3 years? That's the summary, yeah. And Olivia knew all this? Most of it. We talked about Macy, my daughter, pretty early on. Sienna made a sound that was half laugh, half disbelief. That makes this so much worse. How do you know her? Caleb asked, grateful to shift the focus. How long have you been roommates? About a year. We work together at a marketing firm downtown. She's actually really good at her job. Organized, creative, great with clients. Sienna paused, choosing her words. But in her personal life, she's a mess. Serial first dater. Gets excited about people, builds them up in her head, then freaks out when reality doesn't match the fantasy. So I was the fantasy. You were the idea of something. I don't think she got as far as thinking about the actual you. The wine arrived. Sienna lifted her glass. To honesty, she said, even when it sucks. Caleb clinked his glass against hers. To honesty. The wine was good, better than he'd expected. He wasn't much of a drinker these days. Between work and Macy, there wasn't much space for hangovers, but tonight felt like it earned an exception. What about you? He asked. You just spend your Friday nights rescuing strangers from bad dates? Only the ones who look sufficiently pathetic. He snorted. Thanks. You're welcome, she grinned. But no, usually I'm home with a book or binging something terrible on Netflix. This is way more interesting. My humiliation is interesting? Your resilience is interesting. Most guys would have left after 30 minutes. You stayed over an hour. Caleb rotated his wine glass, watching the liquid catch the candlelight. I kept thinking maybe there was a good reason. Traffic, phone died, some emergency. I didn't want to be the asshole who gave up too fast. That's very optimistic of you. Or very stupid. Maybe both. Sienna's voice softened slightly. For what it's worth, it's not stupid to hope for the best in people. It's just exhausting sometimes. Something in the way she said it made Caleb look at her more closely. There was a tiredness around her eyes that matched his own, a familiar weight he recognized from his own mirror. You sound like you know something about exhausting, he said. She took a sip of wine. I've had my share of disappointments. Different kind than yours, probably, but yeah, I get it. Their food arrived before he could ask what she meant. The waiter set down steaming plates of pasta, and for a few minutes they just ate, the silence comfortable in a way Caleb hadn't expected. This is really good, he admitted. Told you, Olivia and I come here sometimes after work. Well, we did. Might be awkward now. Because you're having dinner with the guy she stood up. Because I'm going to tell her exactly what I think about tonight when I get home. Caleb shook his head. You don't have to do that. It's not your fight. She made it my fight when she asked me to cover for her. He froze, fork halfway to his mouth. She what? Sienna's expression turned grim. Earlier today, she texted asking if I could call you and make up some excuse. Car trouble, family emergency, whatever. I told her to handle her own mess. The anger Caleb had been pushing down flared hot in his chest. So she knew all day she wasn't coming. Probably longer than that. He set his fork down carefully, precisely, fighting the urge to throw something. Why didn't you warn me? Because it wasn't my place. I didn't know you. For all I knew, maybe you'd done something that made her uncomfortable, and she just couldn't articulate it. But you don't think that now. No, I watched you for 20 minutes. You checked your phone exactly 7 times. You apologized to the waiter twice for taking up the table. You looked hopeful, then worried, then resigned. Sienna met his eyes. You looked like someone who deserves better than this. The words hit harder than they should have. Caleb felt something crack in his chest, some careful wall he'd built over the last 3 years. I have a daughter, he said quietly. Macy, she's 7, smart as hell, funny, obsessed with dinosaurs. Every decision I make, I think about her first. What's good for her, what's safe, what won't disrupt her life more than it already has been. Sienna nodded, listening. Her mom left when she was 4, just decided motherhood wasn't what she wanted. Signed over custody, sends a card on birthdays, hasn't seen her in 2 years. The words came faster now, like a dam breaking. So I don't date casually. I don't take chances on people who might walk away, because I can handle being left. I've done it before. But I can't watch Macy go through it again. That's why you waited 3 years. That's why I made Olivia wait 3 weeks before agreeing to meet. Why I asked 100 questions, looked for red flags, tried to be careful. He laughed bitterly. Lot of good that did. Sienna was quiet for a moment. Then, you're a good dad. I'm a paranoid dad. You're a dad who loves his kid enough to be careful. That's not paranoia. That's responsibility. Something about the way she said it, without judgment, without pity, just plain understanding, made Caleb's throat tight. Emma, my sister, she keeps telling me I need to live again, that hiding behind Macy isn't fair to either of us. He picked up his wine glass. Maybe she's right. Or maybe tonight just proved I was right to be careful in the first place. Or maybe, Sienna said carefully, tonight proved that some people are cowards, and that has nothing to do with you. They finished their meal talking about smaller things. Caleb told her about Macy's latest dinosaur obsession, how she'd insisted on watching every documentary available and now corrected him on prehistoric facts constantly. Sienna talked about her job, the ridiculous clients who wanted viral campaigns but had no budget, the satisfaction of creating something that actually worked. She was easy to talk to, sharp without being cruel, funny without trying too hard. She listened in a way that felt genuine, asked questions that suggested she actually cared about the answers. When the check came, Caleb reached for it immediately. "I've got this," he said. "I can split it." "You showed up to deliver bad news and somehow made the night bearable. Least I can do is buy you dinner." Sienna smiled. "Okay. But next time, I'm paying." The words hung in the air between them. Next time. Like this wasn't just a weird accident, a collision of circumstances that would disappear by morning. "Next time?" Caleb asked. She pulled out her phone, opened a new contact. "Give me your number, unless you want tonight to be a one-time Good Samaritan thing." He should hesitate, should think about Macy, about complications, about how Sienna was Olivia's roommate and this could get messy fast. Instead, he took her phone and typed in his number. Outside, the night had turned cool. They stood on the sidewalk, the restaurant's warm light spilling out behind them. "My car's that way," Sienna said, pointing left. "Mine's the other direction." Neither of them moved. "Thank you," Caleb said finally, "for tonight, for being honest, for not letting me sit there alone." "You're welcome." She adjusted her bag on her shoulder. "And Caleb?" "Yeah?" "Olivia was an idiot, but I'm kind of glad she bailed." Before he could respond, she turned and walked away, disappearing into the Friday night crowd. Caleb stood there for a minute, processing. Then he pulled out his phone and saw a new text. Unknown. Number, "This is Sienna. Don't overthink tonight. Just let it be what it was. Two people who needed some honest conversation. Sleep well." He saved her number. Drove home. Relieved Emma, who took one look at his face and raised her eyebrows. "Well?" "It's a long story." "She stand you up?" "Yeah, but someone else showed up." Emma's expression sharpened with interest. "Someone else?" "I'll tell you tomorrow. Right now I just want to check on Macy." His daughter was asleep in her room, surrounded by plastic dinosaurs and books about the Mesozoic era. Caleb stood in the doorway, watching her chest rise and fall, and felt the familiar weight of love and fear that came with being her only parent. He'd tried tonight, taken a chance, and it had crashed and burned exactly like he'd been afraid it would. But then Sienna had appeared. Not who he expected, not what he'd planned for, but real in a way Olivia's texts had never been. His phone buzzed. "Sienna, you overthinking yet?" Caleb, "Maybe a little." Sienna, "Stop, go to bed. Tomorrow's a new day." Caleb, "You always this bossy?" Sienna, "You always this stubborn?" Caleb, "Fair point. Good night, Sienna." Sienna, "Good night, Caleb." He set his phone on the nightstand and lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow he'd wake up, make Macy breakfast, take her to soccer practice, do laundry, meal prep for the week. The routine would swallow him again, safe and predictable and small. But tonight, for the first time in 3 years, he'd felt like more than just a father or an employee. He'd felt like himself, and that scared him almost as much as it thrilled him. The text started the next morning. Caleb woke to Macy jumping on his bed, her dinosaur pajamas wrinkled from sleep, her hair a wild tangle that would require negotiation and probably bribery to brush. "Dad, you promised we'd go to the Science Museum today." He had. Last week, in a moment of parental ambition, he'd looked at the calendar and thought Saturday would be perfect for an outing. Now, with approximately 4 hours of sleep and his brain still processing last night, the museum sounded like a special kind of torture. "I remember, Bug. Give me 10 minutes to wake up, okay?" 5 minutes. "Macy, 6 minutes. And I'll eat the healthy cereal instead of the chocolate one." Caleb groaned. "Deal." She bounded off the bed, leaving him staring at the ceiling. His phone sat on the nightstand, and against his better judgment, he reached for it. 3 messages from Emma, all sent around midnight, asking for details. One from his project manager about a deployment on Monday, and one from Sienna, sent 20 minutes ago. Sienna, "Morning." Olivia's awake and asking questions. Fair warning, this might get awkward. He typed back, how awkward are we talking? The response came immediately. She's stress-eating ice cream at 9 a.m. awkward. Despite everything, Caleb smiled, then felt guilty for smiling, then felt annoyed at feeling guilty. The emotional whiplash was exhausting. Caleb, not my problem anymore. Sienna, that's what I told her. She didn't take it well. Caleb, what did you say exactly? Sienna, that she's a coward who wasted a good guy's time, and if she wanted to fix it, she should start with actually apologizing instead of making me do her emotional labor. Caleb, you said all that? Sienna, I'm paraphrasing. There were more expletives involved. Caleb sat up, rubbing his face. Macy's voice drifted from the kitchen, singing something about pterodactyls. He had exactly 4 minutes left before she came back to collect on their deal. Caleb, I appreciate you standing up for me, but you don't have to fight my battles. Sienna, I'm not fighting your battles. I'm fighting the general principle of people being cowardly. Caleb, is that a common battle for you? Sienna, more than I'd like. He wanted to ask what she meant, wanted to know what made someone as direct as Sienna develop such a strong reaction to cowardice. But Macy appeared in the doorway, arms crossed, looking like a miniature version of Emma when she was annoyed. Time's up, Dad. You're right. Museum in an hour? Deal. As she ran off to get dressed, Caleb sent one more text. Taking my daughter to the Science Museum. If Olivia needs to apologize, tell her to text me herself. You've done enough. Sienna's response came as he was heading to the shower. Have fun with the dinosaurs. And Caleb? Last night was nice. Let's do it again sometime. Minus the drama. He stood there, steam starting to fog the bathroom mirror, reading those words 3 times. Let's do it again sometime. Simple. Direct. No games, no ambiguity. Just an offer, clean and honest. He typed back, I'd like that. Then he showered, made breakfast, and spent the next 6 hours listening to Macy explain why the museum got the Jurassic period display slightly wrong. The week that followed developed a rhythm Caleb hadn't expected. Monday morning, Sienna texted him a photo of her coffee with the caption, Olivia's been giving me the silent treatment for 2 days. This is the most peaceful our apartment has been in months. Caleb responded during his lunch break, Sorry you're dealing with fallout. Sienna. Don't be. I've been waiting for an excuse to tell her she needs to grow up. They fell into an easy pattern of messages. Nothing heavy, nothing demanding, just small observations about their days, screenshots of funny things they'd seen, occasional complaints about work. It felt natural in a way that Olivia's carefully crafted messages never had. Tuesday, Emma cornered him during dinner at her place. So are you going to tell me about this mysterious woman who showed up after Olivia bailed, or do I have to torture it out of you? Macy was in the living room, absorbed in a nature documentary. Caleb kept his voice low. Her name's Sienna. She's Olivia's roommate. Emma's eyes went wide. Her roommate showed up to tell you she wasn't coming? That's either really kind or really weird. Little bit of both, maybe. He pushed food around his plate. But we ended up having dinner, and it was good. Really good. Define good? Easy. No pretense. She didn't try to be anything other than exactly who she is. Emma studied him with the look she'd perfected over 34 years of being his older sister, the one that said she could see right through his defenses. You like her? I barely know her. That wasn't a no. Caleb sighed. I don't know what it is yet. We've been texting. It's nice, that's all. Is it all? He thought about Sienna's messages, the way they made him check his phone more often than he had in years, the small spark of anticipation when he saw her name on the screen. I don't know, he admitted. Maybe not. So ask her out, properly this time. Not a rescue mission, an actual date. It's complicated. She lives with Olivia. So what? Olivia's the one who screwed up. You don't owe her anything. Emma was right, technically. But the thought of wading into that particular mess made his stomach tight. What if it caused problems between Sienna and her roommate? What if things went south and it made everything awkward? What if he was reading too much into friendly texts and making a fool of himself again? I'll think about it, he said. You'll overthink it, Emma corrected, and then you'll talk yourself out of it, just like you always do. Wednesday, Sienna called him. Not texted, actually called. Caleb was in the middle of debugging code when his phone rang, her name lighting up the screen. He stared at it for 2 rings before answering. Hey. Hey yourself? You busy? Just work stuff? What's up? I need an objective opinion, and you seem like someone who gives those. She sounded slightly breathless, like she was walking fast. If your coworker asked you to lie to a client about why a project is delayed, would you do it? Caleb leaned back in his chair. No. Why? Because my boss just asked me to tell a client their campaign is delayed because of technical issues, when really it's delayed because he forgot to assign anyone to work on it until yesterday. That's not technical issues, that's incompetence. Thank you. That's what I thought. But everyone else in the office is acting like I'm being difficult for not wanting to lie. You're not being difficult, you're being honest. See, this is why I like you. You get it. Background noise suggested she was outside, traffic humming past. Sorry for calling about work drama. I just needed to hear someone say, I'm not crazy. You're not crazy. Your workplace might be, but you're not. She laughed, and the sound did something strange to his chest, made it feel lighter and tighter at the same time. Where are you? He asked. Walking to get lunch. Needed to get out of the office before I said something I couldn't take back. What would you have said? Probably something about how maybe if our boss spent less time playing golf and more time actually managing projects, we wouldn't be in this position. She paused. I wouldn't have actually said that. But you wanted to. So badly. They talked for 20 minutes. About her job, his current project, the weird politics of office environments. When they finally hung up, Caleb realized he'd been smiling at his computer screen for most of the conversation. His coworker, Derek, rolled his chair over. Who was that? A friend. A friend who makes you smile like that? Sure. Caleb threw a pen at him. Derek dodged, grinning. Thursday evening, Caleb was helping Macy with homework when she looked up from her math worksheet. Dad, do you have a girlfriend? He nearly choked on his coffee. What? No. Why? You've been on your phone a lot and smiling at it. Aunt Emma says that means you like someone. Aunt Emma talks too much. Is it the lady who didn't come to dinner? Caleb set his coffee down carefully. They talked about the date in vague terms. He told Macy he was meeting someone for dinner, nothing more. He tried to keep his romantic life, such as it was, separate from her world. No point introducing complications that might not last. No, that didn't work out. Good. I didn't like her. You never met her. I saw her pictures on your phone. She looked mean. Macy, you can't tell if someone's mean from a picture. Her smile didn't go to her eyes. That's what Aunt Emma says about people who are fake. Caleb stared at his 7-year-old daughter, who somehow noticed things he'd completely missed. Olivia's smile in her photos had been perfect, magazine-ready, and completely empty. You're too smart for your own good, you know that? She grinned, gap-toothed and genuine. Yep. Friday, Sienna asked if he wanted to grab coffee. The text came at 4 in the afternoon. I know it's short notice, but I'm meeting a friend for coffee at 7 near your place. Want to join? Caleb read the message 3 times. Casual, low pressure, a group thing, not a date. He should say yes. It was just coffee, with other people, completely safe. Caleb, I'd need to check if my sister can watch Macy. Sienna, no worries if not. Just thought I'd offer. He called Emma. She answered on the first ring. Please tell me you're calling because Sienna asked you out. How do you even... Did you bug my phone? I'm your sister. I have telepathy. So? Did she? Coffee, tonight, with her friend. And you're calling me to babysit? If you're available. I'm available. Go. Have fun. Talk to actual adults. Remember how to be a person. I'm a person every day. You're a dad every day. That's different. Macy was less enthusiastic when he told her. You're going out again? Just for a little while. Aunt Emma's coming over. Maybe you can convince her to make those cookies you like. The chocolate ones? If you ask nicely. She considered this. Okay, but you have to tell me about your friend. Why? Because you're being weird about it. That means it's important. He knelt down to her level. What if I told you I'm just trying to make new friends? Adult friends who like boring adult things like coffee. I'd say you're a bad liar. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just notice now. Emma arrived at 6:30 with cookie ingredients and a knowing look. Caleb changed his shirt twice, settled on a casual button-down, then changed back to a Henley because the button-down felt like trying too hard. You look fine, Emma called from the kitchen. Stop stressing and go. The coffee shop was one of those trendy places with exposed brick and baristas who took their craft too seriously. Caleb arrived at 7:05, fashionably late enough to not seem desperate, and spotted Sienna immediately. She sat at a corner table with another woman, mid-30s, with bright red hair and an infectious laugh that carried across the room. When Sienna saw him, she waved him over. Caleb, this is Jenna. Jenna, Caleb. Jenna's handshake was firm. So you're the guy who got stood up. Jenna? Sienna shot her a look. What? You told me the story. It's how you met. I'm just acknowledging reality. Caleb couldn't help but smile. Yeah, that's me. Professional disaster. Hey, you turned it around. That takes skill. Jenna gestured to the counter. Grab a coffee. We're just talking about Sienna's disaster of a week. He ordered plain coffee, black, because he was still fundamentally boring, and joined them. Jenna was a graphic designer, Sienna's friend from college, and had the kind of energy that filled a room. She asked questions like she actually wanted answers, teased Sienna mercilessly, and somehow made Caleb feel included without any awkwardness. So Sienna says you're in tech, Jenna said. What kind? Software engineering, nothing exciting, database optimization, back-end systems. He's being modest, Sienna cut in. He's a senior engineer at Vantage Tech. Caleb looked at her, surprised. How do you know that? You mentioned it once. I pay attention. Something warm spread through his chest. The fact that she remembered, that she'd filed away details about his life, felt significant in a way he couldn't quite name. Vantage is solid, Jenna said. My brother works there. In marketing, I think. They talked for an hour. About work, about the city, about a documentary Jenna had watched about art forgers. Caleb found himself relaxing in a way he rarely did around new people. Jenna's presence somehow made things easier, less weighted with possibility and fear. Around 8:30, Jenna's phone rang. That's my cue. Boyfriend emergency. She stood, grabbing her jacket. Caleb, it was great meeting you. Sienna, don't do anything I wouldn't do. That leaves a pretty wide range, Sienna called after her. Jenna waved and disappeared into the night, leaving them alone. The energy shifted. Not bad. Just different. More intimate. Caleb suddenly became very aware of the small table between them, how close their hands were to touching. Sorry about her, Sienna said. She's a lot. I liked her. She's fun. She's also extremely nosy and will definitely interrogate me later about you. What will you tell her? Sienna tilted her head, considering. That you're nice, easy to talk to, better than I expected. Better than expected? Should I be insulted? After Olivia's disaster, my expectations were pretty low for anyone in her orbit. I was never in her orbit. I was just nearby. And now? The question hung between them. Caleb knew what she was really asking, what this was, what it might become, whether they were just friends or something else. Now I'm grateful she didn't show up, he said carefully, because otherwise I wouldn't have met you. Sienna's expression softened. That's a good answer. It's an honest one. Those are usually the same thing. They stayed until the coffee shop started closing, chairs being stacked on tables around them. Outside, the night had cooled, autumn starting to edge into winter. My car's that way, Sienna said, pointing down the street. I'm parked the other way. They stood there, neither moving. Last time had been easier. Last time there'd been the excuse of Olivia, of spontaneity, of accident. This time they'd chosen to be here, and that made everything feel heavier. I should get back to Macy, Caleb said. How is she? The dinosaur expert. Currently trying to convince me we need to adopt a bearded dragon because it's technically a reptile, and therefore basically a dinosaur. Sienna laughed. Is it working? Not yet, but she's persistent. She gets that from you, I bet. From her, actually. Kid's stubborn as hell. Good. The world needs more stubborn women. Caleb looked at her. really looked. At the way the streetlight caught her hair, the easy confidence in her posture, the directness in her eyes that had caught him off guard a week ago. "I want to see you again," he said. "Not coffee with friends. Just us." "Asking me on a date, Caleb Turner?" "Yeah, I am." She smiled. "Took you long enough." "Is that a yes?" "That's a yes." They made plans for Saturday. Dinner, somewhere quieter than Marchetti's. Somewhere they could actually talk. Nothing fancy, nothing that felt like too much pressure. Just two people trying to figure out what this could be. Caleb drove home with that warm feeling still in his chest, the one that felt dangerous and hopeful in equal measure. Emma was waiting when he got back, Macy already asleep. "Well?" "We're going out tomorrow. Actual date this time." Emma's smile was triumphant. "Finally! What changed your mind?" "I don't know. She just makes it easy to be around her. Like I don't have to try so hard to be the right version of myself." That's how it's supposed to feel, you know? When it's right. Caleb thought about that after Emma left, standing in Macy's doorway watching her sleep. The fear was still there. Fear of disrupting their life, of introducing someone who might leave, of opening himself up to hurt again. But underneath the fear was something else, something that felt like possibility. Saturday afternoon, Caleb was getting ready when his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. "Hello? Caleb? This is Olivia." His hand tightened on the phone. In the background, he could hear Macy singing in her room, the normalcy of the moment contrasting sharply with the voice on the line. "Olivia, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. Sienna made it pretty clear I screwed up." Her voice wavered slightly. "But I needed to apologize. Really apologize, not just send a text." "Okay, I'm listening." I panicked. The whole week before our date, I kept building it up in my head. And by Friday, I'd convinced myself it would be a disaster. That I wasn't ready, that you'd figure out I wasn't good enough, that it was safer to not show up than to try and fail. Caleb sat down on his bed. Part of him wanted to be angry, part of him just felt tired. "You could have told me that." "I know, I should have. But I'm not good at hard conversations. I'm good at starting things, terrible at following through. It's a pattern. It's why I'm still single at 31. Why Sienna's mad at me, why I keep making the same mistakes over and over." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you deserved better. You deserved honesty. And because Sienna's been dating you, or about to date you, or whatever you two are doing, and watching her be brave enough to just go for it made me realize how cowardly I've been." The words clicked into place. "Wait, Sienna's been..." "You didn't know?" Olivia laughed, no humor in it. "She's been talking about you all week. How easy you are to talk to, how real you are, how different you are from the guys she usually meets. I thought you knew." Caleb's mind raced. All those texts, the coffee shop, the date tonight. He'd thought he was pursuing Sienna, but maybe she'd been pursuing him too. "I should go," Olivia said. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry, really sorry. And I hope things work out with Sienna. You both deserve something good." "Olivia." "Yeah?" "Thank you for calling. It means something." After she hung up, Caleb sat there processing. Then he called Sienna. She answered immediately. "Hey, I was just about to text you about tonight. I found this..." Olivia called me. Silence. Then, "Ah. She said you've been talking about me all week." "That's accurate. Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't want to scare you off." Sienna's voice was quiet. "You're careful, thoughtful. You don't rush into things. I figured if I came on too strong, you'd pull back. So you just kept it light." "I kept it honest. Everything I said was true. I just didn't mention that I was checking my phone every hour, hoping you'd texted." Caleb smiled despite himself. "Every hour." "Sometimes more. It's embarrassing, honestly. I was doing the same thing." "Really?" "Really." He stood, pacing his room. "I'm picking you up at 7, same plan as before. But now I know this isn't just me hoping. It's both of us trying. That changes things." "Changes them how?" "Makes them scarier and better." "Yeah," Sienna said softly. "Yeah, it does." That night, Caleb stood in front of his closet for 15 minutes before Macy appeared in the doorway. You're nervous. I'm not nervous. You're doing the thing where you reorganize your shirts. You only do that when you're nervous. He looked down. She was right. He'd been moving hangers back and forth without actually choosing anything. Okay, maybe a little nervous. Is she nice? Yeah, really nice. Then you don't have to be nervous. Nice people don't make you feel bad. Caleb knelt down, pulling his daughter into a hug. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just don't listen. I listen. Then wear the blue shirt. It's your best one. He wore the blue shirt. Sienna lived in a converted warehouse on the east side, the kind of building that used to house manufacturing equipment and now held overpriced lofts with exposed brick and industrial lighting. Caleb parked on the street, checked his reflection in the rearview mirror one last time, and told himself to stop being ridiculous. It was just dinner, with a woman who made him check his phone every hour, who'd shown up when someone else hadn't, who seemed to see him as more than just a cautious single father trying not to screw up his life. No pressure at all. He was halfway to the entrance when his phone buzzed. Emma, how's the shirt look? Caleb, how do you even know I'm wearing it? Emma, Macy texted me. She's very invested in this date. Caleb, she's 7. Emma, and smarter than both of us. Now go get her and stop overthinking. The building's lobby smelled like coffee and old wood. Caleb found the buzzer for Unit 4B, pressed it, and waited. The intercom crackled. I'll be right down, Sienna's voice came through, slightly distorted. I can come up. No, trust me. You don't want to. Olivia's home and it's awkward enough without adding you to the mix. Right. Olivia, the woman who'd started all this by not showing up, who'd called yesterday to apologize, who now had to watch her roommate date the guy she'd stood up. Caleb wondered briefly if he should feel guilty about that, then decided he'd spent enough of his life feeling guilty for things that weren't his fault. Sienna appeared 2 minutes later wearing dark jeans and a green sweater that made her eyes look almost gold in the lobby lighting. Her hair was down for the first time since he'd met her, falling past her shoulders in waves that suggested she'd actually made an effort. Hey, she said. Hey yourself, you look great. You don't look so bad either. Blue's definitely your color. My daughter told me to wear it. Sienna smiled. Smart kid. They walked to his car. Caleb opened her door, felt momentarily self-conscious about the action, then decided he didn't care. His mom had raised him to open doors. Some habits weren't worth breaking. The restaurant was a small Vietnamese place tucked between a laundromat and a bookstore, the kind of spot you'd miss if you weren't looking for it. Emma had recommended it months ago, said it was perfect for dates because the food was incredible and the atmosphere was casual enough to not feel intimidating. Inside, the lighting was warm and low. A woman in her 60s greeted them with a smile and led them to a corner table. The menu was handwritten, the chairs mismatched, and something about it felt more real than Marchetti's polished surfaces. This is nice, Sienna said, looking around. How'd you find it? My sister. She's got good taste in restaurants. The same sister who watches your daughter? The very one. Emma. She's basically been managing my life since I was born, 3 years older and never lets me forget it. Sounds like my brother, except he's younger and somehow still thinks he knows everything. They ordered, pho for him, bun cha for her, spring rolls to share. The conversation flowed easily at first, surface-level stuff about work and weather and the absurdity of city parking. But Caleb could feel something underneath it, a current of tension that hadn't been there at the coffee shop with Jenna. This was a real date. They were alone. And that changed everything. Can I ask you something? Sienna said, playing with her napkin. And you can tell me if it's too personal. Go ahead. Your ex-wife, Macy's mom, are you over her? The question caught him off guard, not because it was inappropriate, but because he'd expected her to dance around it longer before going there. That's pretty direct. I don't do well with ambiguity. If this is going to be a thing, I need to know if you're still carrying a torch for someone else. Caleb took a drink of water, considering. I'm over her. Have been for a while. But the anger took longer to fade than the love did. What do you mean? When Jessica left, I wasn't heartbroken. I was furious. At her for leaving Macy, at myself for not seeing it coming, at the whole situation for being so damn unfair. He set his glass down. I spent a year angry, another year tired, and the last year just trying to build something stable for my daughter. That's 3 years, right up until you tried to date Olivia. Yeah. Emma finally convinced me I couldn't hide forever, that Macy needed to see me as a person, not just a parent. So I tried. And we know how that went. Sienna reached across the table, her fingers brushing his. For what it's worth, I'm glad it went the way it did. Even though it made things weird with your roommate? Olivia and I were already weird. This just forced everything to the surface. She pulled her hand back as the food arrived. She'll move out eventually. Probably should have happened months ago. They ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes. The pho was perfect, rich and warming, exactly what he needed. Across from him, Sienna made a small sound of satisfaction. Okay, this is amazing. Your sister's recommendations are officially trusted. I'll tell her you said that. She'll be insufferable about it. Older sisters usually are. Caleb watched her eat, the unselfconscious way she enjoyed the food, and felt something settle in his chest. This was what he'd been looking for without knowing it. Not perfection, not someone who said all the right things, but someone who was just genuinely herself. My turn to ask something personal, he said. Fair's fair. Why are you single? And don't say it's because you're picky. There's got to be more to it. Sienna set down her chopsticks, her expression thoughtful. I was engaged once, 4 years ago. Guy named Marcus. We were together for 3 years, and I thought we were building towards something real. What happened? He wanted me to be smaller. Not physically, emotionally. He liked the idea of me. Smart, independent, ambitious. But the reality made him uncomfortable. Every promotion I got at work, every time I spoke up about something I cared about, he'd get this look, like I was doing something wrong by not needing him enough. Caleb felt his jaw tighten. He sounds like an asshole. He was, but a subtle one, the kind who phrases criticism as concern. Who makes you question yourself until you're not sure if you're being unreasonable or if they are? She picked up her chopsticks again. I almost married him, almost made myself smaller to fit into his life. Then one day, I woke up and realized I'd rather be alone than be less. Good choice. It was, but it made me cautious. I dated after that, but never anyone who felt worth the risk of opening up again. Until... She stopped, looking embarrassed. Until what? Until last Friday night, when I watched you sit in that restaurant waiting for someone who didn't deserve your patience, and something in me just clicked. Like maybe worth the risk wasn't about perfect circumstances. Maybe it was about the right person. The words hung between them. Caleb felt his heart hammering against his ribs. You barely knew me. I knew enough. I knew you stayed even when it hurt. I knew you apologized to the waiter for existing. I knew when I sat down across from you, you didn't get angry or bitter. You just looked tired and sad and real. She met his eyes. That was enough. I'm not special, Sienna. I'm just a guy trying not to mess up his kid. Maybe that's what makes you special. They finished dinner talking about smaller things, her job, and the client who wanted billboard campaigns on a banner ad budget. His current project at work, something about database migration that sounded boring even as he explained it. Macy's latest school project, a diorama of the Cretaceous period that had taken over their dining room table. When the check came, Caleb reached for it. Sienna raised an eyebrow. I can pay for myself. I know, but I asked you out. Let me get this one. Fine, but next time is on me. Next time? You think I'm letting you get away after one date? Caleb smiled. Just checking. Outside, the temperature had dropped. Sienna pulled her jacket tighter, and without thinking, Caleb put his arm around her shoulders. She leaned into him slightly, natural as breathing, and they walked back to his car like they'd done this 100 times before. He drove her home through quiet streets, the city settling into its Saturday night rhythm. When they pulled up in front of her building, neither of them moved. I had a really good time, Sienna said. Me too. Caleb, yeah? I'm going to kiss you now. Unless you have an objection. His brain short-circuited briefly. No objection. She leaned across the console and pressed her lips to his. It was soft, tentative, nothing like the dramatic kisses in movies. Just two people testing the waters, seeing if the connection they felt translated into something physical. It did. When they pulled apart, Sienna was smiling. Okay, good to know. Good to know what? That the chemistry isn't just in my head. Caleb laughed, feeling lighter than he had in years. Definitely not just in your head. She got out of the car, then leaned back in through the window. Text me when you get home, so I know you made it safely. It's like 10 minutes. Still, humor me. He did. And when he pulled into his driveway and saw Emma's car still parked in front of his house, he knew he was in for an interrogation. She was on the couch when he walked in, pretending to watch TV but obviously waiting up. Macy asleep? He asked. Has been for 2 hours. Now stop stalling and tell me everything. He sat down next to her. It was good. Really good. Define good. We talked. Actually talked about real things. Her ex-fiancé, my ex-wife, what we're looking for, and it didn't feel heavy or forced. It just felt right. Emma's smile was knowing. And I kissed her, or she kissed me. It was mutual. But finally, took you long enough. It's been 2 weeks since we met. 2 weeks too long, so what's next? I don't know. We'll see each other again. Take it slow. I've got Macy to think about. You always have Macy to think about. That's not going to change. But you also have yourself to think about. And Caleb? She put her hand on his arm. You deserve this. You deserve to be happy. After Emma left, Caleb checked on Macy. She was sprawled across her bed, one leg hanging off the edge, her dinosaur nightlight casting shadows on the wall. He adjusted her blanket, kissed her forehead, and felt the familiar weight of responsibility settle over him. He was someone's whole world. Every choice he made rippled through her life. Dating Sienna wasn't just about him anymore. Eventually, if things got serious, it would involve Macy too. And that thought terrified him more than anything. His phone buzzed. Sienna. Make it home okay? Caleb. Safe and sound. My sister ambushed me for details. Sienna. What did you tell her? Caleb. That you're a good kisser. Sienna. Just good? Caleb. Great. Excellent. Best I've had in 3 years. Sienna. Low bar, but I'll take it. He smiled, typed out a response, deleted it, tried again. Caleb. I want to see you again soon, but I need to figure out how to navigate this with Macy. Sienna. I understand. Take your time. I'm not going anywhere. Caleb. You're sure? Sienna. I'm sure. Good night, Caleb. The next 2 weeks fell into a pattern. They saw each other twice more, once for lunch near her office, and once for a movie that neither of them paid much attention to. The connection deepened, the conversations got easier, and Caleb found himself thinking about her at random moments during the day. But he still hadn't told Macy. Hadn't figured out how to explain that Daddy was seeing someone, that this person might become part of their lives. Emma kept pushing him to just rip the Band-Aid off, but every time he tried to bring it up, the words stuck in his throat. Then Olivia called again. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Caleb was in a meeting when his phone lit up with her name. He ignored it, figured if it was important, she'd leave a voicemail. She did. Caleb, hi, it's Olivia again. I know I already apologized, but I did something stupid, and I need you to know about it before you hear it somewhere else. Call me back. Please. He waited until after work to listen to the message, standing in the parking garage with a growing sense of dread. Then he called her. What did you do? Okay, so you're mad already? That's fair. Olivia, what did you do? She took a breath. There's this radio show, Morning Drive with Danny and Lisa. They do this segment called Second Chance Romance, where people call in and apologize to exes or people they stood up or whatever. Caleb's stomach dropped. Tell me you didn't. I called in. They're airing it tomorrow morning at 8. I tried to cancel, but they said it was already recorded and scheduled, and you went on a radio show to apologize for standing me up? His voice came out louder than he intended. An elderly woman getting into her car nearby glanced over. I thought it would be romantic, like a grand gesture. Danny said, I don't care what Danny said. You made our private business public entertainment. I'm sorry. I really am. I thought you'd like it. You thought I'd like having my humiliation broadcast to thousands of people. It wasn't supposed to be humiliating. It was supposed to be sweet. Caleb closed his eyes, trying to find calm. Olivia, I need you to listen very carefully. What happened between us is over. I've moved on. You apologized, I accepted, and now we're done. You don't get to make grand gestures. You don't get to turn this into content. You just need to let it go. But I'm seeing Sienna now, seriously, and this, whatever this is, it's not helping anyone. Silence on the other end. Then quietly, You're really with Sienna? Yeah, I am. Does she know about the radio thing? I'm about to tell her, and probably warn her that you've lost your mind. He hung up before she could respond, immediately calling Sienna. She answered with her usual energy. Hey, was just thinking about you. Olivia went on a radio show to publicly apologize for standing me up. It airs tomorrow morning at 8. The pause was longer than he expected. Then, of course she did. You're not surprised? Olivia lives for drama. This is exactly the kind of thing she'd think was a good idea. Sienna sighed. What show? Morning Drive with Danny and Lisa. Oh no, that's huge. Like, everyone listens to that show. Yeah, I'm aware. Caleb, I'm sorry. I know this is my fault somehow. If we weren't dating, she wouldn't be. This isn't your fault. This is Olivia refusing to accept that her actions have consequences. He leaned against his car. But I need to know something. What? Is this going to be a pattern? Her trying to insert herself into our lives? Because I can handle awkward. I can handle complicated. But I can't handle chaos. Not with Macy to think about. Sienna was quiet for a moment. I'm moving out, end of the month. Already found a place and gave notice. I was going to tell you this weekend, but now seems like a better time. Relief flooded through him. You're leaving. Should have done it months ago. Living with her has been like living with a tornado, but the radio thing is the last straw. Her voice hardened. I'm going to talk to her tonight. Make it very clear that this stops now. You don't have to. Yeah, I do, because this isn't just about you anymore. It's about us. And I'm not letting her ruin that because she can't handle rejection like an adult. After they hung up, Caleb sat in his car for a long time, processing. Tomorrow morning, thousands of people would hear about his failed date. Coworkers would recognize his name, friends would ask questions. And somewhere in all of it, he'd have to explain to Macy why people were talking about Daddy on the radio. He drove home, made dinner, helped Macy with her homework. At bedtime, as he tucked her in, she looked up at him with those eyes that saw too much. Something's wrong. Nothing's wrong, Bug. You have the worry face, the one where your forehead gets all crinkly. He smoothed his forehead self-consciously. Just work stuff. You're lying. You always touch your forehead when you lie. When did you become a detective? I've always been a detective. You just don't notice. She sat up slightly. Is it about your friend? The one who makes you smile? There it was, the opening he'd been avoiding for weeks. Caleb sat down on the edge of her bed. Yeah, it's about her. Her name is Sienna. Is she your girlfriend? Kind of. Maybe. We're still figuring it out. Macy considered this. Do you love her? I don't know yet. It's too soon to know that. But you like her a lot. Yeah, I like her a lot. Then why do you have the worry face? How did you explain adult complications to a 7-year-old? How did you make her understand that the world was messy and people were difficult and sometimes things got hard even when the feelings were good? Sometimes when you care about someone, other people get involved and make things complicated. That's what's happening now. Is someone being mean to you? Not mean exactly, just thoughtless. Macy frowned. You should tell them to stop. I'm trying, Bug. Tell them Macy said they have to stop or they'll be in big trouble. Caleb smiled despite everything. I'll pass that along. She lay back down, yawning. I think I should meet her, Sienna. You do? Yeah. So I can make sure she's nice enough for you. That's very thoughtful. I'm very thoughtful. Everyone says so. He kissed her forehead. Good night, Macy. Night, Dad. Don't worry so much. It makes your forehead crinkly. Upstairs, Caleb texted Sienna. Macy wants to meet you. Says she needs to make sure you're nice enough for me. The response came quickly. Smart kid. When? Caleb. I don't know. Is it too soon? Sienna. Only you can answer that. But I'm ready when you are. He lay in bed that night thinking about tomorrow. About the radio show and Olivia's inability to just let things be. About Sienna's willingness to meet Macy, to step into the complicated reality of his life. about how quickly everything had shifted from routine to uncertain. At 7:50 the next morning, his phone started buzzing. Derek from work. Dude, are you on the radio right now? Emma. Turn on Morning Drive now. 3 texts from numbers he didn't recognize. He didn't turn it on. Didn't need to. By 8:30, the clips were online. Olivia's voice, slightly nervous but trying to sound sincere. Danny, I did something really awful. I stood up this amazing guy named Caleb Turner. He's a single dad, super sweet, and I just panicked and didn't show. And I know sorry isn't enough, but Caleb, if you're listening, I'm so sorry. You deserved better. You deserved honesty, and I hope you can forgive me. Danny's voice, all radio smooth enthusiasm. Wow, Olivia, that takes real courage to admit. Caleb, if you're out there, sounds like you dodged a bullet. But also, this lady's truly sorry. Maybe give her a call? Lisa chiming in. Or maybe Caleb's already moved on to someone who actually shows up. Nervous laughter from Olivia. Caleb listened to the clip twice, each time feeling his anger spike higher. This wasn't an apology. It was performance. Olivia turning their private disaster into public spectacle, painting herself as the flawed but sympathetic character seeking redemption. His phone rang. Sienna. Please tell me you didn't listen to it, she said immediately. I listened. And I'm done. Completely done. I don't care if she's your roommate or if it makes things awkward. I need her to stop existing in my life. She already doesn't. I told her last night that if she pulled any more stunts, I'm moving out early and she can figure out how to cover my half of the rent on her own. What did she say? That I was overreacting, that it was just a radio show, that you'd probably think it was sweet. Caleb laughed, sharp and bitter. Sweet. Right. I'm packing tonight. Friend's letting me crash on her couch until my new place is ready. I can't be around her anymore. I'm sorry you're getting caught in this. I'm not caught in anything. I'm choosing to get out. Sienna's voice softened. Are you okay? I will be. Just need to figure out how to explain to my daughter why people are talking about me on the radio. Want me to come over tonight after Macy's asleep? We can just sit and not talk about Olivia or radio shows or any of it. Yeah, I'd like that. She came over at 9 after Macy was in bed. They sat on his couch with tea that neither of them really drank, and for a while they just existed in the same space. No pressure, no expectations. Just 2 people who'd found something worth protecting. Macy wants to meet you, Caleb said eventually. I know, you texted. I'm terrified. Of her meeting me or of what it means if she does? Both, all of it. What if she doesn't like you? What if she does like you, and then we don't work out? What if I'm making a mistake bringing you into her life this early? Sienna set down her mug. Those are all fair questions, and I don't have perfect answers. But I can tell you this. I'm not Jessica. I'm not Olivia. I'm not someone who runs when things get real. How can you know that? We've known each other 3 weeks. Because I've already seen you at your worst. Sat up at night, humiliated by a public radio apology, stressed about work and parenting and trying to navigate all of this, and I'm still here. She took his hand. That's not going anywhere. Caleb looked at their intertwined fingers. She said she wants to make sure you're nice enough for me. That's adorable and also slightly terrifying. She's protective, been through a lot for a kid her age. Then I better bring my A game. They set it up for Saturday. Casual, low-key. Just lunch at the park and maybe the playground after. Nothing that felt like an audition, even though they both knew it kind of was. Saturday morning arrived with all the subtlety of a freight train. Caleb woke at 6, couldn't fall back asleep, and spent 2 hours overthinking everything from what to wear to whether bringing Sienna to Macy's favorite park was too much pressure or not enough thought. By 8, Macy was awake and suspicious. Why are you making pancakes? She asked, appearing in the kitchen doorway with her hair sticking up in 3 different directions. You only make pancakes on special days. Can't I just make pancakes? You're nervous. The pancakes are a tell. Caleb flipped one, watched it land perfectly, and wished his daughter wasn't quite so observant. We're meeting Sienna today, at the park. I thought pancakes might be nice. Macy climbed onto her stool at the counter, eyes narrowing. The friend who's maybe your girlfriend? Yeah, that one. What if I don't like her? The question hit harder than it should have. Caleb set down the spatula, turned to face her fully. Then we'll figure it out. But I hope you'll give her a real chance first. What if she doesn't like me? That's impossible. You're the best person I know. You have to say that. You're my dad. Doesn't make it less true. She picked at the edge of the placemat, not looking at him. Mom didn't like me enough to stay. The words landed like a punch to the gut. They'd talked about Jessica before, in age-appropriate ways, but Macy rarely brought her up directly. Hearing it now, the morning he was introducing her to someone new, felt like the universe testing him. Caleb came around the counter, knelt beside her stool so they were eye level. Your mom leaving had nothing to do with you. That was about her, about things she couldn't handle. You are the most lovable person in the entire world. Then why do you look so scared about me meeting Sienna? Because I care what you think. Because your opinion matters more than anyone else's. Because I need you to be okay with this before it can go anywhere. Macy studied him with those two old eyes. What if I say I don't want you to have a girlfriend? Then we'd talk about why. And I'd listen, really listen. But you'd be sad. Maybe, but you'd still come first. She seemed to weigh this, her 7-year-old brain processing adult complications. Finally, she nodded. Okay, I'll meet her, but I'm watching her very carefully. I'd expect nothing less. They ate pancakes mostly in silence. Caleb's phone buzzed twice with texts from Sienna, both attempting humor to cut through the tension they were both feeling. Sienna, just tried on 6 different outfits. Is there a dress code for meeting judicious 7-year-olds? Caleb, casual, comfortable, prepared to discuss dinosaurs. Sienna, I studied last night. Did you know the Spinosaurus was likely semi-aquatic? Caleb, Macy will either love you or test you on that. Sienna, no pressure then. The park was 15 minutes away, an old neighborhood spot with good playground equipment and enough space that it never felt crowded. Caleb had suggested meeting there at 11, neutral territory where Macy would feel comfortable and Sienna wouldn't feel trapped. They arrived at 10:50. Macy had changed her outfit 3 times, finally settling on jeans and her favorite purple shirt with a T-Rex on it. She'd insisted on brushing her own hair, which meant it was slightly lopsided, but Caleb had learned to pick his battles. There she is, Macy said, pointing. Sienna stood near the entrance, wearing jeans and a simple blue sweater, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She looked nervous, which somehow made Caleb feel better. At least he wasn't alone in this. She spotted them and waved, walking over with a smile that looked only slightly forced. Hey, Caleb said. Hey yourself. Sienna looked down at Macy. You must be Macy. I've heard a lot about you. Macy's expression was unreadable. I've heard about you too. All good things, I hope. Dad said you showed up when someone else didn't, that you were honest when you could have lied. Sienna blinked, clearly not expecting that level of directness. That's true. I try to be honest, even when it's hard. Good. I don't like liars. Me neither. They stood there for a moment, sizing each other up. Caleb resisted the urge to fill the silence, to smooth over the awkwardness. This was Macy's show. She needed to run it her way. Do you like dinosaurs? Macy asked finally. I'm learning to. Your dad mentioned you're an expert. I know a lot, probably more than most adults. I believe it. Did you know the Spinosaurus was probably semi-aquatic? Macy's eyes lit up. You know about Spinosaurus? Just that one fact. I was hoping you could teach me more. And just like that, the ice cracked. Not shattered, not melted away completely, but cracked enough for something to start seeping through. They walked to a picnic table. Caleb had packed sandwiches and chips, nothing fancy, just easy food they could eat while talking. Macy launched into an explanation of the Spinosaurus's adaptations, complete with hand gestures and sound effects. Sienna listened with what appeared to be genuine interest, asking questions that suggested she was actually paying attention. So the sail on its back, Sienna said, was that for temperature regulation or display? Scientists think maybe both, but mostly thermoregulation because it lived in hot climates. That's smart. Built-in cooling system. Exactly. Macy took a bite of her sandwich, chewed thoughtfully. Do you have any hobbies? The subject change was abrupt but deliberate. Caleb recognized his daughter's interview technique. She'd cycle through topics, watching for inconsistencies or false enthusiasm. I like reading, Sienna said, and hiking when I have time. Oh, and I'm terrible at painting, but I do it anyway because it's fun to be bad at something. Why would you do something you're bad at? Because being good at everything is boring, and sometimes the fun is in trying, not in being perfect. Macy considered this. I'm bad at math. Math's hard. What kind gives you trouble? Word problems. I can do the numbers, but when they hide them in stories, I get confused. That's because word problems are basically puzzles disguised as math. You have to translate the story into numbers first. How do you do that? Sienna pulled out a napkin and a pen. Okay, let's say the problem is Sarah has 12 cookies and gives away 4 to her friend. How many cookies does Sarah have left? 8. Right, but the story part is the distraction. The real math is 12 minus 4. So when you see a word problem, try to find the actual numbers and what they're asking you to do with them. Macy studied the napkin like it held secrets to the universe. Can you help me with my homework sometime? The question hung in the air. Caleb felt his chest tighten. That wasn't just casual interest. That was Macy extending an invitation into their life. Sienna glanced at him, then back at Macy. If your dad's okay with it, I'd be happy to. Dad? We can figure that out, Caleb said carefully. Let's see how today goes first. After lunch, Macy dragged them to the playground. She showed Sienna her favorite climbing structure, the one she'd conquered after weeks of being too scared to try. Demonstrated her technique on the monkey bars, which involved more swinging than actual bar-to-bar movement, but got the job done. Sienna gamely tried the monkey bars herself, made it 3 bars before dropping off with exaggerated drama that made Macy laugh. You have to use your momentum, Macy explained. Like this. She demonstrated again. Sienna tried again, this time making it 5 bars. Better, Macy declared. You just need practice. Guess I'll have to come back then. Caleb watched from a bench, his heart doing complicated things in his chest. This was what he'd been afraid of. Macy connecting with Sienna, forming an attachment that could break if things didn't work out. But it was also what he'd hoped for. Seeing his daughter laugh, seeing her open up to someone new, it felt like watching something frozen finally start to thaw. His phone buzzed. Emma. Emma. How's it going? Caleb. Good, really good, actually. Emma. Macy likes her? Caleb. I think so. They're doing monkey bars together. Emma. That's huge. Macy doesn't share the monkey bars with just anyone. Emma. Don't screw this up, Caleb. Thanks for the vote of confidence. Around 2, Macy started to fade. The social energy required for meeting someone new had clearly maxed out. She became quieter, less animated, started gravitating back toward Caleb. I think we should probably head home, he said. Someone has homework to finish. I don't want to do homework, Macy protested, but half-heartedly. I know, but that's the deal. Play first, homework after. Sienna stood, brushing wood chips off her jeans. I should get going anyway. I've got some packing to finish. You're moving? Macy asked. Yeah, getting a new apartment next week. Because of the lady who didn't show up for Dad's date? Sienna's eyebrows shot up. She looked at Caleb, who shrugged helplessly. Macy knows most things, he said. We don't really do secrets in our house. That's healthy, Sienna said, recovering quickly. And yeah, partly because of her, but also because it was time for a change. Good. Dad said she was thoughtless. I don't think thoughtless people should live with you. Your dad's pretty smart. Macy nodded seriously. I know. They walked back to the parking lot together. At Sienna's car, there was an awkward moment where no one was quite sure what the goodbye should look like. Macy solved it by stepping forward and offering her hand. It was nice to meet you, Sienna. Sienna shook it solemnly. It was nice to meet you too, Macy. Thanks for teaching me about dinosaurs. You're welcome. You can come back if you want, to practice monkey bars. I'd like that. After Sienna drove away, Macy was quiet on the ride home. Caleb let her process, didn't push for immediate reactions, but when they pulled into the driveway, she spoke. I like her. Relief flooded through him. Yeah? She didn't treat me like a baby, and she actually listened when I talked. Not the fake listening adults do sometimes where they're just waiting for you to stop talking. Those are good reasons to like someone. Are you going to marry her? Caleb nearly drove into the mailbox. What? No, we just started dating. But you might. Later. Macy, I don't know what's going to happen later. I just know I like her and I think she's good for me, for us. Okay, as long as she doesn't try to be my mom. I already have a mom, even if she's not here. The words twisted something in Caleb's chest. Sienna would never try to replace your mom. Nobody could do that. Good. That night after Macy was asleep, Sienna called. So, she said, did I pass? With flying colors, apparently. She said you actually listened to her. Of course I listened. She's interesting, smart as hell. I can see why you're proud of her. She asked if I was going to marry you. Sienna laughed. Jesus, she doesn't mess around. She wanted to make sure you wouldn't try to replace her mom. The laughter faded. I would never. That's not what this is. I know. I told her that. How do you feel about today? Sienna asked. Honestly? Caleb thought about it. The nervousness, the moment when Macy and Sienna had connected over dinosaurs, the way something had shifted in his chest watching them on the monkey bars together. Terrified, he admitted. But in a good way. Like standing at the edge of something new and not knowing if you should jump, but wanting to anyway. That's oddly poetic for a software engineer. I have my moments. So we're doing this? Really doing this? Yeah, I think we are. They talked for another hour about nothing important. Her packing progress, his upcoming project deadline, a documentary she'd watched about deep-sea creatures, normal, easy conversation that made the space between them feel smaller. The following week, Olivia called him again. He almost didn't answer. Had in fact developed a policy of not answering calls from her, but this time something made him pick up. What, Olivia? I need help. The words were quiet, stripped of the usual drama. Something in her tone made him pause. What kind of help? My mom. She had a stroke. I'm at the hospital and I don't know what to do and Sienna's not answering and I needed to call someone. Caleb's anger deflated. He didn't like Olivia, didn't trust her, didn't want her in his life. But he wasn't the kind of person who ignored someone in actual crisis. Which hospital? St. Catherine's. But you don't have to come. I just needed to tell someone, and you were the only person who... Her voice cracked. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have called. I'm coming. Give me 20 minutes. He called Emma, asked if she could watch Macy for an emergency. Then he texted Sienna explaining what was happening. Her response came quickly. Sienna. She called you? Why not me? Caleb. She said you weren't answering. Sienna. Because I blocked her number after the radio stunt. Damn it. I'll meet you there. St. Catherine's emergency room was the particular kind of fluorescent nightmare that all hospitals seemed to be. Caleb found Olivia in the waiting area, looking smaller than he'd ever seen her. Her makeup was smudged, her hair messy, and she was shaking slightly. Thank you for coming, she said when she saw him. You didn't have to. How's your mom? They're running tests. They said it was a mild stroke, caught early, but they need to make sure there's no bleeding or blockage. She wiped at her eyes. I'm her emergency contact and I panicked, and I didn't know what to do. Caleb sat down next to her, maintaining careful distance. Is there other family? Someone else who should be here? My dad died 5 years ago. I have a brother, but he's stationed overseas. It's just me. They sat in silence. Caleb didn't know what to say. Comfort felt false given their history, but coldness felt cruel given the circumstances. Sienna arrived 15 minutes later, breathless and clearly conflicted. She took one look at Olivia, and some of the anger in her expression softened. What do they know so far? She asked, sitting on Olivia's other side. Not much, just that it's mild and they're running tests. Did they say how long until... No, just to wait. So they waited. The three of them in uncomfortable proximity, bound by crisis and complicated history. Caleb texted Macy goodnight, told her he'd be home soon. Emma replied that everything was fine, take his time, do what needed doing. Around midnight, a doctor appeared. Olivia stood so fast she nearly fell over. Ms. Hart? Your mother's stable. The stroke was minor, affecting a small portion of her motor cortex. We've started her on blood thinners, and she'll need some physical therapy, but the prognosis is good. The relief on Olivia's face was so raw it was almost painful to witness. Can I see her? She's sleeping now, but you can sit with her. Just family, though. Olivia glanced at Sienna, then at Caleb. Thank you both for being here. I know I don't deserve it. Just go see your mom, Sienna said gently. After Olivia disappeared through the double doors, Caleb and Sienna sat back down. You blocked her number? He asked. After the radio thing, I was done. Sienna rubbed her face. I feel like an asshole now. You're not an asshole, you set a boundary. A boundary that meant she couldn't reach me when she actually needed help. She reached me. It worked out. Sienna leaned against him, her head on his shoulder. You're a better person than I am. I just happened to answer the phone. Don't canonize me yet. They drove home separately around 1 a.m. Caleb relieved Emma, who asked no questions but gave him a look that said they'd be talking about this later. He checked on Macy, found her sprawled across her bed with a book about marine dinosaurs open on her chest. His phone buzzed as he was getting ready for bed. Sienna. Home safe, still processing tonight. Caleb. Same. How do you feel? Sienna. Guilty. Relieved her mom's okay. Angry that I feel guilty. It's a whole thing. Caleb. You're allowed to have complicated feelings about her. Sienna. I know. Doesn't make it easier. Caleb. Nothing about this is easy. Sienna. No. But we're doing it anyway. Caleb. Yeah, we are. The next morning, Olivia texted him. Olivia. Mom's doing better. They're moving her to a regular room today. Thank you for last night, really. Caleb. Glad she's okay. Olivia. I know I've been a mess. The date, the radio thing, all of it. I'm working on myself. Seeing a therapist finally. Caleb. That's good. Everyone could use therapy. Olivia. I just want you to know I'm genuinely happy you and Sienna found each other. You both deserve good things. Caleb. Thank you. I appreciate that. It felt like closure, real closure, not the performative kind she'd attempted on the radio. Just two people acknowledging that things hadn't worked out and moving on with genuine goodwill. He showed the messages to Sienna later that day when she came over for dinner. Macy was in the living room building an elaborate dinosaur habitat out of couch cushions. Think she means it? Sienna asked, reading over his shoulder. I think she's trying to. Whether she can actually follow through is another question. Fair enough. Sienna set down the phone. I'm moving tomorrow. Want to help? You're asking me to lift heavy things? I'm asking if you and possibly Macy want to be part of the next chapter. My new place is smaller, close to a good elementary school, has a park nearby. I picked it thinking about, the future. Caleb's heart did that complicated thing again. The future. Too much? No, just right amount of terrifying. She smiled. Good. Because I got a place with 2 bedrooms. One for me and one that could be an office or a guest room, or eventually maybe a kid's room if someone wanted to sleep over sometimes. Sienna, I'm not trying to rush anything. I'm just being honest about what I'm hoping for. If that's too much, tell me now. Caleb looked toward the living room where Macy was narrating an epic battle between a T-Rex and a Triceratops. Looked back at Sienna, who was watching him with open vulnerability. It's not too much, he said. It's actually exactly what I needed to hear. Yeah? Yeah. Because I've been hoping for the same thing and terrified to say it out loud. She kissed him, soft and certain. When they pulled apart, Macy was standing in the doorway. Are you guys going to be gross all the time now? Caleb laughed. Maybe sometimes. That okay with you? Macy pretended to think about it. I guess, as long as she keeps helping with my math homework. Deal, Sienna said. They spent the evening eating pizza and discussing Macy's diorama project, which had evolved from the Cretaceous period to include scientifically accurate volcanoes that Caleb suspected would not be scientifically accurate at all. Later, after Macy was in bed and Sienna was getting ready to leave, she paused at the door. Caleb? Yeah? Thank you for giving this a chance, for letting me in. I know it wasn't easy. Thank you for showing up, that first night and every night since. Guess we both got lucky. Guess we did. After she left, Caleb sat on the couch in the quiet house, thinking about how his life had changed in a month. How one disastrous date had led to something real, something worth the risk of opening up again. His phone buzzed one more time. Macy had somehow learned to text from Emma's phone. Sienna is cool, you can keep her. He smiled, typed back, Good to know I have your approval. Macy, you're welcome now. Go to sleep. You're old and need rest. Caleb, I'm 32. Macy, like I said, old. He went to bed thinking about tomorrow, about helping Sienna move, about the future they were carefully building together, about second chances and showing up, and the strange way life worked when you let it. Moving day started with Macy dropping a box of books on Caleb's foot. Sorry, Dad, it slipped. He hopped on one foot, biting back words he couldn't say in front of his daughter. It's fine. Just maybe warn me next time before you hand me something that weighs 40 pounds. It's only books. Books aren't that heavy. These are dinosaur encyclopedias. They're basically made of concrete. Sienna's new apartment was on the third floor of an old building with no elevator. By noon, Caleb's back was screaming, and Emma had shown up with reinforcements in the form of her husband Mike and enough coffee to fuel a small army. This is what you get for dating someone younger, Emma said, handing him a cup. She has energy. You have joint pain. I'm 32, not 80. Tell that to your lower back. Sienna emerged from the stairwell carrying a lamp and looking unfairly energized. Last load. I think we're actually done. Thank God, Mike muttered. I'm too old for this. You're 35, Emma said. Exactly. Ancient. Macy had claimed the guest room as her territory, arranging her overnight bag and a selection of dinosaur figures on the dresser like she was marking her space. Caleb found her standing in the middle of the empty room, looking thoughtful. What do you think, Bug? It's nice. Smaller than home, but nice. She touched the wall. Can I paint something in here, like a mural? You'd have to ask Sienna. It's her place. Ask me what? Sienna appeared in the doorway, hair escaping from her ponytail, dust on her jeans. If I can paint a mural, something with dinosaurs. Sienna considered this. What kind of dinosaurs? Accurate ones, not the movie kind with wrong proportions. Obviously, can't have scientifically inaccurate dinosaurs in my guest room. She smiled. Yeah, if your dad's okay with it, we can plan something. Really? Really, but you have to help paint, and no complaining when it takes longer than you think it will. Macy's face lit up in a way Caleb hadn't seen in months. Can we start next weekend? Let me get unpacked first, then we'll plan it. After Emma and Mike left, the three of them ordered pizza and sat on Sienna's couch, one of the few pieces of furniture fully assembled, surrounded by boxes and the particular chaos of a fresh start. I can't believe you're really out of there, Caleb said. Best decision I've made in months. Second best, actually. Sienna looked at him. First best was sitting down at that table. That's really cheesy. Doesn't make it less true. Macy made a gagging sound. You guys are being gross again. Get used to it, Sienna said. This is happening now. I know. I'm managing my expectations. They spent the night putting together furniture and organizing boxes. Macy fell asleep on the couch around 9, exhausted from the day. Caleb carried her to the guest room, tucked her in on top of the made bed, and felt something shift in his chest. His daughter, sleeping in Sienna's apartment like it was the most natural thing in the world. She looks peaceful, Sienna said from the doorway. She's had a big day. New experiences take it out of her. She doing okay with all this? Really? Caleb thought about it. The questions Macy had asked, the way she'd claimed space in this apartment, the ease with which she'd accepted Sienna into their lives. Yeah, I think she is. Better than I expected, honestly. Kids are resilient. She's had to be. They went back to the living room, started unpacking kitchen boxes. Sienna had weird organizational systems, spices alphabetized, mugs sorted by size, utensils in a specific order that made sense only to her. Caleb found himself learning her patterns, adapting to her rhythms. Can I ask you something? Sienna said, unwrapping a set of plates. When Jessica left, did you see it coming? The question landed heavy. Caleb set down the glass he'd been holding. Not really. I mean, I knew she was unhappy. She'd said motherhood was harder than she expected, that she felt trapped. But I thought we were working through it. Thought if I took on more, gave her space to figure herself out, she'd come back around. But she didn't. No. One day I came home from work and she'd packed a bag. Said she couldn't do it anymore, couldn't be a wife or a mother, that she'd made a mistake and needed to fix it before it was too late. What did you say? I begged her to stay. Not for me, for Macy. Offered couples therapy, individual therapy, time apart, anything. She just kept saying she was sorry that this wasn't the life she wanted. He picked up the glass again, focused on unwrapping it carefully. The worst part was watching Macy not understand. She was 4. She kept asking when Mommy was coming home. Sienna was quiet for a moment. That's brutal. Yeah, but we survived it, built something new. And honestly, I don't think about Jessica much anymore, just the impact she left behind. Do you think Macy's scared I'll leave too? Probably. She asked if you'd try to replace her mom. That's fear talking. I would never. I know. And she's starting to know too. But it'll take time. Trust has to be earned, especially when it's been broken before. They finished unpacking the kitchen in comfortable silence. Around 11, Caleb realized he should probably get Macy home, but the thought of leaving felt wrong somehow. Like they were building something here, in this half-unpacked apartment, and walking away would break the momentum. Stay, Sienna said, reading his mind. Both of you. There's enough furniture for everyone. You sure? I'm sure. So they stayed. Caleb slept on the couch, Macy in the guest room, Sienna in her bedroom. It was awkward and cramped and nothing like he'd imagined his first overnight at her place would be. But it was also real. Domestic. Normal in a way that made him realize how much he'd been craving normal. The next few weeks fell into a new pattern. Sienna came over for dinners twice a week. They took Macy to the science museum, to the movies, to the bookstore where she loaded up on everything she could find about prehistoric marine life. Slowly, carefully, they built something that felt like a family without anyone saying that word out loud. Then, Olivia showed up at Caleb's office. He was in the middle of debugging code when the receptionist called. Caleb, there's someone here to see you, says it's important. I don't have any meetings scheduled. She says her name is Olivia Hart. Every muscle in Caleb's body tensed. Tell her I'm busy. She says it'll just take 5 minutes, that it's about Sienna. That got his attention. He saved his work, headed to the lobby, and found Olivia sitting in one of the uncomfortable modern chairs that were supposed to look sleek, but mostly just looked painful. What are you doing here? She stood. I know I'm the last person you want to see, but I needed to talk to you and I didn't think you'd answer if I called. You're right, I wouldn't have. So talk. Can we go somewhere more private? Caleb glanced at the receptionist, who was trying very hard to look like she wasn't listening. Conference room, 5 minutes. He led her to a small glass-walled room, didn't offer her a seat. What's this about? Sienna's birthday is next week, Thursday. She hasn't mentioned it to you, has she? He hadn't even known. No, she never does. Hates making a fuss about it. But she always ends up spending it alone, pretending she doesn't care. Olivia pulled out her phone, showed him a calendar reminder. Last year she worked late, came home, ate leftover Chinese food, and went to bed. I asked if she wanted to do anything, and she said birthdays were overrated. Why are you telling me this? Because she deserves better, and because you're the first person she's let herself care about in years. If anyone's going to change her terrible birthday tradition, it should be you. Caleb studied Olivia, trying to figure out the angle, but she looked genuine. No performance, no drama, just someone trying to do right by a friend she'd wronged in other ways. How do you even know about us? He asked. I thought Sienna blocked your number. She unblocked me, after my mom's stroke. We've been talking, not like before, but we're working on being friends again, real friends this time. And she's okay with you being here? She doesn't know I'm here. This is me trying to help without her knowing because she's stubborn and won't accept help directly. Caleb leaned against the table. What would you suggest? Something small, nothing elaborate or public. Maybe dinner at her place with people she actually cares about. Jenna, her brother if he's in town, you and Macy. Just acknowledgement that she matters. It was a good idea. Simple, thoughtful. Exactly the kind of thing Sienna would never ask for, but secretly want. I'll think about it. Caleb? Olivia stood. I really am sorry for everything. I know I've said it before, but I'm actually working on being better. Being honest instead of running. Facing consequences instead of making them someone else's problem. I hope you are. For your sake, not mine. Fair enough. After she left, Caleb sat in the conference room processing. Then he texted Sienna. Caleb, when's your birthday? The response took a few minutes. Sienna, why? Caleb, Just answer the question. Sienna, next Thursday. It's not a big deal. Caleb, what are you doing to celebrate? Sienna, nothing. Probably work late and crash. Caleb, not this year. Sienna, Caleb, I really don't like birthday stuff. Caleb, too bad. I'm planning something small. Just us and a few people who care about you. You don't have to do anything except show up. Sienna, you're bossy when you want to be. Caleb, I learned from the best. He spent the next week planning, called Jenna, who was immediately on board, reached out to Sienna's brother Marcus, different from the ex-fiancé, same name apparently, who couldn't make it in from Seattle but sent a video message, coordinated with Emma on food, got Macy involved in making decorations that were heavy on dinosaurs because that's what Macy knew how to draw. Thursday arrived. Sienna had no idea what was waiting for her. Caleb picked her up from work at 6, claiming they were just going to her place for a quiet dinner. She looked tired, the kind of exhaustion that came from a long week and low-grade stress. I'm really not in the mood for much tonight, she said, getting in his car. I know, that's why we're keeping it simple. Where's Macy? Emma's watching her. They're doing some project together. On a Thursday night. Emma's full of surprises. When they pulled up to her building, Sienna's apartment windows were dark. Caleb had texted Jenna to keep the lights off until they got inside. As they climbed the stairs, Sienna kept throwing him suspicious looks. You're being weird. I'm being mysterious. There's a difference. I don't like mysteries. You'll like this one. He unlocked her door. She'd given him a key 2 weeks ago and flipped on the lights. Surprise! Sienna jumped about a foot. Jenna, Emma, Mike, and Macy were spread around the living room, which was decorated with streamers that were indeed mostly dinosaur-themed. A cake sat on the counter, homemade by Emma, with Happy Birthday Sienna in slightly wonky frosting letters. What is this? Sienna looked between them all, landing on Caleb with something between shock and emotion. This is us celebrating you, he said simply. Because you matter, and because birthdays shouldn't be spent alone eating leftover Chinese food. How did you... She shook her head. Olivia told you. She did. And before you get mad, she was trying to help. I'm not mad. Sienna's voice was thick. I'm just not used to this. Macy ran over, holding a card made from construction paper. I made this. It has a stegosaurus because you said that was your favorite when I asked last week. Sienna opened the card. Inside, in careful 7-year-old handwriting, Happy birthday. You're nice and good at math. Love, Macy. This is perfect, Sienna said, her eyes suspiciously bright. Thank you. They spent the evening eating Emma's cooking, lasagna, garlic bread, salad, and talking about nothing important. Jenna told embarrassing college stories. Mike discussed his latest home improvement disaster. Macy showed everyone her progress on the dinosaur mural plan, complete with sketches and measurements. When it came time for cake, Emma dimmed the lights and brought out the candles. Everyone sang, slightly off-key and enthusiastic. Sienna closed her eyes, made a wish, and blew them out in one breath. What did you wish for? Macy asked. Can't tell you. Then it won't come true. That's a myth. Wishes come true based on actions, not secrecy. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise, Macy said, echoing her favorite phrase. People just don't notice. After everyone left and Macy had fallen asleep in the guest room again, Caleb and Sienna sat on her couch in the quiet aftermath. Thank you, she said. Really, this was too much? Perfect. It was perfect. She leaned against him. I haven't had a birthday like that since I was a kid. My family never made a big deal about celebrations. Just another day, you know? Well, now you have us, and we make a big deal about people we care about. I'm starting to figure that out. What did you wish for when you blew out the candles? I thought wishes were secret. Macy said that's a myth. Sienna smiled. I wished for more nights like this. More normal, happy, simple nights with people who see me for who I actually am. That's a good wish. What would you wish for? If it was your birthday? Caleb thought about it. About Jessica and the years of rebuilding. About Olivia's no-show that had led to Sienna. About Macy sleeping in the next room, comfortable and safe in this new space they were creating. I'd wish for the courage to keep choosing this. To not let fear make my decisions. Have you been letting fear make your decisions? For 3 years, yeah. Until you sat down across from me and didn't let me run away. I'm stubborn like that. It's one of your best qualities. They sat in comfortable silence, the kind that didn't need filling. Outside, the city hummed with late-night traffic and distant sirens. Inside, everything felt still and right. Caleb's phone buzzed. Emma. Emma. Macy wants to know if she can stay over again tomorrow night. Something about finishing her mural plans with Sienna. He showed Sienna the text. She read it and smiled. She's welcome anytime, you both are. Caleb typed back. I'll ask Sienna, but probably yes. Emma. You're getting domestic. It's adorable. Caleb. Shut up. Emma. Never. This is what siblings are for. The next morning, Caleb woke up on Sienna's couch to the smell of pancakes and the sound of Macy laughing in the kitchen. He found them making breakfast together, Macy standing on a stool while Sienna showed her how to flip without making a mess. You're teaching her your secrets, he said from the doorway. Everyone needs to know how to make a good pancake, Sienna replied. It's a life skill. Dad always burns them on one side. I do not. You do, Macy said seriously. But we don't tell you because it hurts your feelings. Sienna tried not to laugh and failed. Caleb threw a dish towel at both of them. They ate breakfast together, made plans for the mural project, discussed Macy's upcoming science fair. Everything felt easy, natural, like they'd been doing this for years instead of weeks. Around 10, Caleb's phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Is this Caleb Turner? Yeah. Who's this? This is Margaret Hart, Olivia's mother. Caleb's stomach dropped. He moved into the living room for privacy. Mrs. Hart, how are you feeling? Much better, thank you. I'm calling because Olivia told me what happened. About the date she missed, about you helping at the hospital, about how kind you've been despite everything. It's not... Please, let me finish. My daughter has made many mistakes. I've watched her sabotage good things her whole life because she's afraid of failing, but she's trying to do better now. Really trying. And I wanted to thank you for giving her the chance to apologize properly, for not holding her worst moments against her forever. Caleb didn't know what to say. I appreciate you calling, but honestly, Olivia and I have moved on. We're okay. I know. She told me about Sienna, about how happy you seem. Margaret paused. I just wanted you to know that sometimes the worst things lead to the best outcomes. If my daughter had shown up that night, you might never have found something real. That's very philosophical, Mrs. Hart. I'm old. I'm allowed to be philosophical. She laughed, a warm sound that reminded him Olivia came from somewhere good, even if she'd gotten lost along the way. Take care of yourself, Caleb, and that little girl of yours. After she hung up, Caleb sat with the conversation. Margaret was right. If Olivia had shown up, if everything had gone according to plan, he'd have dated someone fundamentally wrong for him, would have wasted time trying to make something work that was doomed from the start. Instead, he had this. Sienna in the kitchen teaching his daughter to make pancakes. A relationship built on honesty instead of performance. A future that felt possible instead of terrifying. Everything okay? Sienna asked, appearing in the doorway. Yeah. Just Olivia's mom thanking me for being decent. That's nice of her. It was. Made me think about how weird life is. How the worst night turned into the best thing. Sienna came over, sat next to him. You don't regret any of it? The embarrassment, the radio thing, all the drama? Not even a little bit, because it led here. That's really sappy. Doesn't make it less true. She kissed him, soft and certain. From the kitchen, Macy yelled, You guys are being gross again. Get used to it, they yelled back in unison. The weeks turned into months. Fall faded into winter. The mural got painted, a Cretaceous seascape with scientifically accurate mosasaurs and plesiosaurs that took 6 weekends and approximately 1,000 arguments about proper scale. Macy started bringing homework to Sienna's place automatically. Caleb kept a drawer at her apartment. They fell into rhythms that felt like forever instead of just beginning. On a Friday in December, Caleb came home from work to find Sienna's car in his driveway. She had a key now, used it freely, and he loved coming home to find her already there. Inside, she and Macy were at the dining room table surrounded by craft supplies. What's happening here? We're making ornaments, Macy explained. Sienna's never had a real Christmas tree. Can you believe that? Never? Sienna shrugged. My family wasn't big on decorations. We just did dinner and presents, very minimal. That's sad, Macy declared. Everyone needs a real tree with ornaments and lights and everything. I'm learning that. Caleb looked at them, at the glitter already spreading across his dining room table, at his daughter teaching someone else about traditions that mattered to her. Something warm and full expanded in his chest. So I guess we're getting a tree this weekend. Obviously, Macy said. A big one, with lots of lights. They went tree shopping on Saturday, picked out a 7-foot Douglas fir that barely fit in Caleb's living room, spent the afternoon decorating while Christmas music played, and Macy directed everyone with the authority of someone who'd been doing this her whole life. Ornaments need to be evenly distributed, she insisted, not all bunched up in one spot. Yes, ma'am, Sienna said, moving the one she'd just placed. And lights go on first, then ornaments, then tinsel. That's the right order. How do you know so much about Christmas trees? Sienna asked. Dad taught me. His mom used to be really into decorating. Caleb felt the familiar pang. His mother had died when Macy was 3, right before Jessica left. Those 2 losses back to back had nearly broken him, but they'd survived, built new traditions, found ways to carry forward the good parts while letting go of the pain. Grandma would have liked you, Macy said suddenly to Sienna. Yeah? Yeah, she liked people who were honest, who didn't pretend to be something they weren't. Sienna's eyes met Caleb's over Macy's head. He saw the emotion there, the weight of being included in their history. That's the nicest thing anyone said to me in a long time, Sienna said. When the tree was finished, they stood back to admire it. The lights twinkled, ornaments caught the reflection, and it looked exactly like Christmas should look. Perfect, Macy declared. Now we take a picture. She set up her tablet, programmed the timer, and made them all squeeze together in front of the tree. The photo captured them mid-laugh, slightly blurry, completely imperfect. That's the one, Macy said, looking at the screen. That's our family picture. The word hung in the air. Family. Not dad and daughter and dad's girlfriend. Just family. Simple and true, and bigger than any of them had expected it to become. Yeah, Caleb said quietly. That's our family picture. That night, after Macy was asleep, Caleb and Sienna sat on the couch looking at the tree lights. She called us family, Sienna said. I noticed. That's huge. It is. Are you okay with that? Caleb turned to face her. I'm more than okay with it. I'm ready for it. Ready for what exactly? For this. For us. For building something permanent instead of just seeing where things go. He took her hand. I know it's fast. I know people would say we should wait longer, but I don't want to waste time being careful when I already know what I want. What do you want? You. Here. Part of our lives in every way, not just sleepovers and dinner dates. Real, committed. This is our life together. Sienna was quiet for a moment. I want that too. But Caleb, I need you to be sure, because Macy's involved now. If we do this and it doesn't work, it's not just us who gets hurt. I'm sure. More sure than I've been about anything since the day Macy was born. Okay, then let's do it. Let's be a family. They kissed, soft and certain, while the Christmas lights blinked around them, and upstairs Macy slept peacefully, safe in the knowledge that her world was growing instead of shrinking. 6 months later, Sienna moved in officially. They combined households, merged routines, figured out how 3 people could share space without driving each other crazy. It wasn't always smooth. There were arguments about bathroom time and whose turn it was to do dishes and whether Macy could have a bearded dragon. Still no, but the campaign continued. But it worked. They made it work because they wanted to, because they'd all chosen this, because sometimes the best families were the ones you built instead of the ones you were born into. On a warm Saturday in June, Caleb proposed in the backyard while Macy helped him build a garden bed for vegetables they'd probably forget to water properly. Sienna said yes before he'd finished asking, and Macy cheered like her team had just won the championship. They got married in October, small ceremony in Emma's backyard with 40 people and a cake that was slightly lopsided but tasted amazing. Macy was the flower girl and took the job so seriously she walked slower than the actual bride. Olivia sent a card and a generous gift with a note that said simply, "Thank you for showing me what grace looks like. Be happy." They were happy. Not perfect, not without struggles, but happy in the way that real life allowed. Macy started third grade with Sienna on the emergency contact list. Caleb took on a new project at work that let him work from home more. Sienna's company promoted her to senior director, which came with more money and more stress, but also more satisfaction. They had family dinners every Sunday, fought about stupid things like everyone else, made up quickly because life was too short to stay angry, built traditions and inside jokes, and a life that felt full in all the right ways. One night, nearly 2 years after that disastrous first date, Caleb found Sienna standing in Macy's doorway, watching her sleep. "You okay?" he asked quietly. "Just thinking about how different my life is now, how I almost missed all of this." Because of one canceled date? Because of a lot of canceled dates, a lot of being too scared to try, a lot of choosing safe over real. She turned to him. "Then you sat in that restaurant waiting for someone who didn't deserve your patience, and something in me just knew I had to meet you. Best decision you ever made?" "Second best. First best was saying yes when you finally asked me out properly." He pulled her close, kissed the top of her head. "You know what I think about sometimes?" "What?" "How Olivia's cowardice was the bravest thing that ever happened to me, because it forced me to stop hiding, stop using Macy as an excuse to not live, stop being so afraid of getting hurt that I missed everything good. That's very philosophical of you. I'm getting older. I'm allowed to be philosophical." She laughed, the sound warm and familiar. "You're 34? Practically ancient." They went to bed that night tangled together, comfortable in their shared space, secure in what they'd built. And when Caleb drifted off to sleep, he thought about that Friday night 2 years ago, about sitting alone in an Italian restaurant feeling like a failure, about the stranger who'd appeared and refused to let him wallow, about all the small choices that had led to this life, this family, this particular kind of happiness that he'd stopped believing was possible. The next morning, Macy woke them up at 7, demanding pancakes. Sienna stumbled to the kitchen still half asleep while Caleb tried to negotiate 5 more minutes. Life continued, normal and chaotic and exactly what he'd been looking for without knowing it. And somewhere across town, Olivia was probably sleeping in, living her own life, working on her own healing. They'd crossed paths briefly, collided in a way that changed everything, then moved on to become the people they were supposed to be. Sometimes that's how it worked. Sometimes the worst moment led to the best outcome. Sometimes you had to sit alone in a restaurant before you could find someone worth showing up for. Sometimes cowardice and courage looked identical from the outside, and only the consequences revealed the difference. Caleb had learned to be grateful for all of it. The pain that taught him resilience, the loneliness that made him appreciate connection, the fear that showed him what bravery actually required, and most of all, the woman who'd walked into his disaster and stayed through everything that came after. That afternoon, they went to the park, the same one where Sienna had met Macy 2 years ago. Macy ran ahead to the monkey bars, older now, but still determined to perfect her technique. Caleb and Sienna sat on the bench watching, holding hands, being exactly what they'd become. "You think she remembers the first time we came here?" Sienna asked. "Probably. She remembers everything. I was so nervous, thought for sure she'd hate me. She wanted to protect me from getting hurt again." "What changed her mind?" "You did, by being exactly who you are and not trying to be anything else." Macy called to them from the monkey bars, wanting them to watch her make it all the way across. They cheered when she did, celebrated like it was the Olympics instead of just a playground achievement, because that's what parents did. That's what family did. Later, driving home with Macy, chattering about her summer camp plans in the back seat, and Sienna's hand resting on his knee, Caleb felt something settle deep in his chest. Peace. Contentment. The quiet certainty that he was exactly where he was supposed to be. He'd taken a chance on love after 3 years of hiding, had sat alone in a restaurant waiting for someone who never came, had been found by someone better, had built a life worth living instead of just surviving. And that made all of it, the embarrassment, the fear, the risk, worth everything. Because sometimes you had to be stood up to find the person who'd always show up. Sometimes disaster was just opportunity wearing a disguise. And sometimes the greatest love stories started with the worst first dates. Caleb pulled into their driveway, helped Macy out of the car, followed Sienna inside their house, their home, their life. And he smiled, knowing that every day forward would be built on the foundation of that one terrible, wonderful night when everything changed. The night someone didn't show up and someone else did. The night he learned that second chances came in unexpected forms. The night his real life finally began.